Well, happy Monday. It's November 25th. It is Thanksgiving week, and I want to start out with a question for you. Do we think interest rates could actually stay high forever? Well, maybe not forever, but I'm going to give you a point of view where they could stay higher than you want for much longer than you want. So let's talk about it. So, this is the interest rate today. We're looking at the 30-year fixed right around 7%. Almost nobody's getting a 15-year fixed anymore because the payment would just be way too high. But they're kind of in the mid sixes. You've got FHA and VA kind of in the mid sixes as well. So if I scroll all the way down, so I picked the day in September when the Federal Reserve announced that they were going to lower the Fed rate. They did on September 18th. So from that date, we were sitting around 6.1% on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, but it's gone up, up, up. We got over 7% in late October, and we've stayed at or above 7%. What gives? Why is the Fed lowering a rate when the mortgage market is going up? So I want you to think about two types of rates. You've got short-term rates. Think of this as credit cards, savings accounts at banks, auto loans, things that you pay off in a shorter amount of time. That's the rate that may actually start to go down as the Fed lowers the Fed rate, because that's how banks trade on money. But then you have long-term rates. Think of this as 10, 20, 30-year US Treasury notes and 15 and 30-year fixed rate mortgages, where they're going to trade more on the bond market. And let's look at that in a second. So right now, we're sitting at or above 7%, where for the last 2.5 years has been kind of the rubber band that keeps pulling back to that spot. So this is the national deficit right now. In fact, this isn't the deficit. This is just the interest on the US federal debt. So it's charging an interest rate that we have to pay. And you can see in the last, 10 years or so, even 5, it has skyrocketed up. And so, well, how do we pay for that interest? Well, we have to create more debt to pay debt. So if it was you and you had a credit card that was maxed out, instead of going and making more money and paying it off, well, you just go open another credit card, and then you start using that credit card to pay the first credit card, and then that gets maxed out, et cetera. So that's what the government's doing. How do they do that? They do that with 10-year, 20-year, 30-year Treasury notes, sometimes shorter notes as well. So here's the 10-year Treasury as of Monday the 25th. Right now, we're about, call it 4.29%. And so that is the return that an investor wants to get to buy all this extra debt that we have to do, which is higher than it was the last 10 years, where these were at like 0.7%, 1%, super low, because the government had, the Fed basically had no interest rate on their loan. So what's happening is they need more return. If you want me to buy more debt, I need a better return. Okay, well, how do mortgages play with the bond market? Well, if this is considered the most risk-free type of investment, a 10-year Treasury, then the mortgage market, which is considered riskier, typically trades between 2 and 3% higher. So instead of 4.29, that would put it at 6.29 to 7.29. Well, where are we today? We're about 7%. So for the buyers out there, and people like me too, that want cheaper mortgage rates, we're going to need to see the 10-year Treasury at or below 3%. I think it's going to be a while. We'll see what happens next year. But for somebody to want to buy a Treasury and only get paid 3%, they're going to need that to be a better investment than they can get in other places. And so watch the bond market. For those that don't understand bonds, or just all you got to know is this number right here. If that number stays above 3%, you're probably going to have a mortgage at 5.5 or higher. Period. So watch the 10-year Treasury. That'll give you an idea where the mortgage market is going. All right, let's talk about the Austin market in real time. So again, we are in late November. This is a look at active versus sold listings right now. The green are the active listings, and you can see this time of year typically are always coming off the market. What's happening is it's not that many more homes are selling. It's that there's not really a lot of sellers bringing homes to market this time of year. And the ones that are on the market are starting to sell. And the ones that aren't selling, those sellers are starting to pull them off the market. Maybe they wait till next year. Or they just turn it into a rent house. And so that's what we're seeing every year. This happens. It's very seasonal and normal. If we go down to blue, which is closed sales, you can see it's been steady but weakening every month. Our peak was in May. We sold about 3,200 single family homes. As we get to October, our last full month, we sold about 2,461. So about 800 fewer single family sales in October versus May. And that's, again, typical. We start to see not only sellers kind of come out of the market, but we see buyers come out of the market as well. So how is that impacting the price? And again, this is not per house. This is just the market in general. So original price is the green. This is where the sellers are starting their list price as a whole. And the blue is where they're closing as a whole. Well, quite honestly, we haven't moved that much. If I go back to April, we were at 454. We have come down from that point. Our low point was September. We got to about 424. So the market did soften. We've had higher rates, as I mentioned. The market did soften. We saw it kind of pop back up a little bit in October. And maybe that's because, as I mentioned in September, rates had come down into the low sixes. Maybe that spurred more buyers to buy homes. It popped back up to about 430. We're sitting here in late November. It's too hard to say, but we're still sitting around 430. So the last 3 or 4 months, even if I go back to August, which was July buyers, we're at 436. So yeah, the market has just started to stabilize, let's say between 425 to 430. We saw that last year and the year before. So this tends to be a price range, at least with these interest rates. I don't think the market's going up, but it's not going down much past this spot if this is where rates are going to hover. And finally, let's talk about days on market. So how long is it taking an average seller to get a contract, not to close, but just to get a buyer under contract? And you can see our spring market, January, February is typically the end of 2023 buyers, closing in January and February. The spring buyers come out, usually typically in February, and they start buying in March, April, May, June. And so the days on market comes down, and that's pretty normal. But with high interest rates, they went up in April and kind of stayed high. What we've seen is days on market has just continued to climb all year. So it's taking sellers longer and longer to sell a property. I don't expect that's going to change until we get to 2025, and probably maybe we'll get something like this when we get to the spring. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So if you're a seller right now, the good news is you're going to have a little less competition. The number of listings is coming out of the market. And I think we're in the final days of the year right now. For a buyer that wants to close before the end of 2024, they need to be writing offers like right now, maybe the first week in December. But you also have Christmas in there. You got Thanksgiving in there. And so there's not much time left to close on a property. Once we get into probably the second week of December, at that point, those are 2025 closings. So that data will show up next year. So pay attention to that. If you're a buyer right now, you already know where rates are going to be. I think we know where they are. So right now, if you're interested in a property, there's still plenty of inventory compared to normal this time of year, and it's taking sellers a little longer to get there. So you still have some good negotiating power if you're looking to buy right now. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in Austin, make sure to give us a ring. Would love to chat with you about your 2025 plans. And of course, if you want to follow our videos each and every week, check out our YouTube channel at Ryan Kelly Group. Click that subscribe button. We'd love to keep you to check out these videos every week. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope you'll have a great week. Get some time off. Hook 'em horns. Hope we beat the Aggies this weekend, and we'll talk to you in December. Thanks.